Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to worship at Westminster Presbyterian and our inclusive family of faith. We especially welcome our visitors and those watching on YouTube.
The gospel reading this morning comes from the book of Mark. This passage is from chapter 1, verses 21 through 28. Listen to this. They went to Capernaum, and when the Sabbath came, he entered the synagogue and taught. They were astounded at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes. Just then, there was in their synagogue a man with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent and come out of him." And the unclean spirit, convulsing him and crying with a loud voice, came out of him. They were all amazed, and they kept on asking one another, "What is this? A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." At once his fame began to spread throughout the surrounding region of Galilee. This is the gospel of the Lord. Now, I often struggle to find parallels between myself and the Son of God. Yes, Jesus is often portrayed as being, just as human as the rest of us, but we know he is so much more than just a mere mortal. But this week, I kind of get him. Because being a sixth grade teacher, I often feel I may need the talents of an exorcist. Hormones, being a tween, and just the general mood swings of being a kid can often present themselves in a manner where I think to myself, who is this person? And what have you done with the normal sweet child I see the other 90% of the time? Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes I have a hard time identifying where an exorcism story can connect with anyone. So I was really thrilled when Pastor Kate gave me the passage for this week. My brain, of course, instantly was filled with images of someone writhing out of control, head spinning around, projectile pea soup, all those fiction stories that I saw in movies around Halloween time when I was growing up. And then questions about what happens to the demon when it has been exorcised. Where does it go? Is Jesus the New Testament version of Dr. Karras from The Exorcist? It seems to me that this first public act of Jesus in the Gospel of Mark is there for a reason. What does it mean that he deals with even the unclean spirits? When I pondered on that question for a while, it suddenly clicked to me. We all have demons. They may not be the kind that have us writhing on the floor, but they could be the ones that sometimes control our everyday lives. Those fears, anxieties, doubts, worries, illnesses, addictions, self-serving behaviors, these are all demons that we have living inside each and every one of us at times. We often allow these things to have authority over us. We often let them keep us from living the full lives that we desire to live, or the things that we have always wanted to do, or have authority over the ways that we look at ourselves and feel about ourselves. Now, Jesus, as he had always done at this point, continues to amaze people in the synagogue during this gospel reading. In fact, the people at the temple even say they are amazed because of the authority that he speaks with. Now, the normal thing to hear in the synagogue at that time would have been someone saying, "The prophets say," or "The Lord said to the prophets," or maybe Rabbi so-and-so once said. The priest's authority was only through the words of another, whereas Jesus, as is his right given to him by God, simply commands on his own. In Jesus' time, there were very specific rituals that were performed during an exorcism, and all of them involved having the correct incantations in the right order and specific procedures. Only those who knew the correct magic could command over the spirit world. Now, Jesus merely commands the demon to come out, and it does. People had never seen anything like this before. They were amazed at the authority that he spoke with and the power of it. It is striking, however, that no one seems overly concerned that a man possessed by a demon has entered the synagogue. In a normal scenario, the man with the unclean spirit would definitely have probably drawn all of the attention, much in the way it would happen if perhaps an unbathed or talking to himself, possibly drunk man was to walk in the sanctuary here this morning. In the story, we think, who is this man? He's loud, he interrupts, he challenges, he asks what business Jesus has with them all and if he has come to destroy them. In truth, he may just be the reflection of all of us all of those in the synagogue, sinners in the world who try to hide the shame of our shortcomings. Yet Jesus is the one who remains the focus of the attention. His is the authority that fills the synagogue and commands the attention of everyone there. By the end of Jesus' encounter with the man, it is clear that yes, he is here to destroy, yet not in the way we would normally expect. Think about the way that Jesus uses his authority. Indeed, the way he uses his authority is completely different from the way we as humans tend to let the power of authority run away with us. The possessed man comes to challenge Jesus, to question the authority that he seems to have. The possessed man asks him what business he wants with us. The possessed man mistakenly acts as if he may have the real authority. For mere humans, authority is often associated with being drunk with power. And as we look around us and in the past, we see that in fact it normally does ring true. The world is filled with examples of people using their power in often abusive or terribly negative ways, using authority to enrich oneself, or getting your way all the time, or keeping the truth from someone. Some of the greatest human sufferings in this world have arisen from authoritarian rulers. Yet Jesus doesn't use his authority in this way. He doesn't use his authority for any reason other than to deal with things as they come. He doesn't use his authority to enrich himself or to make a huge dramatic production out of the authority that he has. He didn't let his power change the natural course of events or try to keep every negative thing from happening to all human beings. He didn't use his authority to call attention to himself. Quite the opposite. He tells the demon actually to be quiet after the demon names him as being the Son of God. He didn't want the attention drawn to himself. And that would be amazing to us, even in this day and time, because it's completely the opposite of the way we would expect to see someone use this new kind of power and authority. Now, what if, in turn, we could find a way to flip the script, as it is sometimes said? What if we could find a way to use Jesus' authority only as a blessing? Authority doesn't have to be a curse or a demon. And that is because Jesus shows us in this act of exorcism how authority can be used to help, not merely to overpower. Now, Jesus is there to destroy, but he has come to destroy the unclean in all of us. It almost seems as if the man in the synagogue and the people there are hoping to hear in answer to what Jesus wants with them to be everything. I have everything to do with you. Just as the true soul of the unclean man hides behind the demon, don't we all often do the same thing? We also use our personas sometimes to hide the truth of what our life is like and who we are. How many times have we all said to someone, everything's fine, and quickly changed the subject in order to hide how we may really be hanging on by a thread and not sure how we will get through to the end of a day? Humans are funny beings. Deep down, we long for authenticity, intimacy, and acceptance. Sadly, the last thing we also want is to be found out, or to have someone see us for who we might be, or who we might not be. Now, one of my favorite bands, Imagine Dragons, has a song about this called Demons. There's a lyric that says, "Don't get too close, it's dark inside, it's where my demons hide." We allow those false voices to mask who we may truly be. We say all the right things, we dress the acceptable way, we behave the right way. The ironic thing is that these fronts we put up sometimes have the opposite effect of what we desire and stand in the way of that authenticity and acceptance that we crave. What we should do is remember that all those negative demons that have had the authority to overpower us in the past stand zero chance when we let the positive energy that Jesus offers us to go into battle for us. Energies that are often cruel, heartless, dark, and unforgiving, are powerless against the energies of love, compassion, grace, forgiveness, mercy, and the light that Jesus offers us. Jesus shows us that in bringing our demons to him, that through him we can all be healed, just like the person in the synagogue. Again, Jesus has come to destroy. He has come to destroy those false voices in our heads. He has come to cast out all of those personas that we hide behind out of fear. He does have everything to do with us by showing us a mirror image of what we can become and what can be possible. Whatever has us downtrodden, or a habit that is our long-sworn enemy, or that fear that keeps us from doing the things we know in the end might be best for us, are on the run against the authority that Jesus offers us to cast those demons out. I think this is what it means when we say we give it up to God. We don't actually just give it over and expect God to magically fix everything, but what we are really doing is giving that negativity over to the authority God has offered us through Jesus to exorcise our own demons with his help. He calls us to our true selves, the ones made in the image of God. Today's gospel is just as much about calling us forward as it is about casting out. In fact, Jesus wants us to be closer than ever to his energy when we are casting out these demons, because he is the light that beats all darkness. And in the same way, we can be a conduit of Jesus' authority to others. Jesus commands us to help heal the broken and the sick, and to pray for our enemies. Think of those around you who may be struggling, and remind them that Jesus doesn't abandon them at their time of need, that rather he wants to hold you closer and help you make and share in this new kind of authority in precisely those moments when we need it. Jesus is not done exorcising demons in the world, and we can help be an instrument of his peace. May God draw us all closer this week as we remember the importance and power of the beautiful healing energy offered to us through the new kind of authority that is available in Jesus Christ our Lord. He shares that power with us in his grace so that we may exorcise our own demons and help others find the light to exorcise theirs. Imagine the good that could be done if we focus on this new kind of authority to help and heal, instead of remaining with the old ways of oppression and fear and doubt. Thanks be to God for his glory and his offer to share in grace upon grace upon grace. Amen.
and he